with your girl Beauty. So, as you can see by my title, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horsemen and all the king's men could not put Humpty back together again. Let's step into that, right? So, I actually received this download today. You know, at some point it just popped in my head, Humpty Dumpty. I'm like, Humpty Dumpty, like what? you know, it took me back to actually my childhood and everything, and I just kind of dismissed the thought because I just thought it was just some random stuff my brain was doing at the moment. But then I ended up opening my phone and seeing it on an app, not an app, but on like a news feed, and I'm just like, Spirit, what you talking about? So of course I got the download and I wanted to come and actually tap in. And I kind of wanted to break down that little nursery rhyme bit by bit. But first things first, we're gonna start with this Mystic Forest Oracle. Bottom of the deck, you will get there. You will get there, right? You will get there. And I also saw you are complete, which is funny considering what happened to Humpty Dumpty. But there's a whole message here. And we're gonna bring it out bit by bit. I don't know how long we're gonna be here, y'all. Um, I just don't know because this might be one of the ones. Will we be here an hour or two or maybe three? I don't know. But we gonna see. We gonna see though. So, Holy Spirit, what is the message for the Mystic Forest Oracle that you have for the beautiful collective? Okay, hold on now. Get it together. All right. So let's see. Mm, beautiful. Right out the gate. Do it your way. And then we have life source. It says, you were never meant to fit in. You were born to be a wild and free force of nature, here to build new and better worlds. Allow yourself to go and do that. That's amazing. You were never meant to fit in. You were born, okay? You were born to be a standout, right? You were born to build new and better worlds. So you literally were brought into this world to be a game changer. So that's why Humpty Dumpty had a great fall because there's definitely some things that needed to crack, right? Some things that needed to kind of break up, kind of shatter, right? Even some things that you may be yoked with, right? Pun intended. There could be some things that you're yoked with right now that needs to be severed. Okay. We have life source. When life comes to a standstill, turn inward and focus on joy and excitement. Your inner light keeps everything alive and moving. So let's talk about this Humpty Dumpty. For all of those, and the ones in the back who know the rhyme, the nursery rhyme, the nursery riddle of Humpty Dumpty. It goes, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horsemen and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Like I said, let's break that down. So, just with that first line, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. So, when you think about that, a wall is an elevated platform, right? So, a wall is a higher perspective. A wall is essentially a level above what's underneath, right? I just got the buzz for confirmation. So, yes. So, this is Humpty Dumpty was a person, right, who put themselves up on this wall, put themselves on this wall in this place. Now, nobody told Humpty Dumpty to go sit on the wall. Nobody forced Humpty Dumpty to stay on the wall, let alone sit on it. But yet, Humpty Dumpty chose to go and sit on the wall. But as the story goes, Humpty Dumpty also had a great fall. So you have to think about that part. He sat on the wall and had a great fall. Now, it doesn't tell us, the riddle doesn't tell us how Humpty Dumpty came to fall, right? But it does tell you that Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. So this wasn't just any old kind of fall. And with the next line, all the king's horsemen and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty was broke. Okay. Humpty Dumpty was shattered. And not even the highest level of help could assist Humpty Dumpty with the issue that Humpty Dumpty had. But here's the twist though. Humpty Dumpty was looking for outside external help. They couldn't help him. So just like this life source card says, you have to turn inward. This is a inner thing, right? So when it comes to an ego, right? That's that thing that speaks to us from a place of pride, right? So it's like, oh, I can't just have myself. When it comes to the ego, it's all based around how we're being perceived externally. It's based around it's all about perception when it comes to ego, right? It's either you don't want to be perceived this way or you don't want to be perceived that way, right? It's all about perception when it comes to egos. But the thing about an ego is it's not really doing you justice when you're causing blockages for yourself. So that's exactly why Humpty Dumpty had to have a great fall, because Humpty Dumpty had to have an ego death. And from that ego death, Humpty Dumpty, in a sense, is able to rise. So just like Humpty Dumpty, right? We don't realize how fragile we are when we're operating out of our ego self. When we're operating from that prideful place, we really don't understand how fragile we make ourselves. Think about it. When you're in a relationship with somebody and you have all this ego and it's misplaced ego, then you're actually setting yourself up for a great fall in a connection, because you could begin to think like way more of yourself than is necessary to think. So that's why it's so important that when we are thinking of ourselves in a particular way, that it's not from this self-appointed place of position over other people. That's the first mistake a lot of people make. They place themselves in a position above other people as if they have some sort of dominion over certain people or whatever the case is. And a lot of times people will try. hmm And it's like they may even experience one person who allows them to have that sort of dominion over them, but that's just the one person. May even find two. May look up and find a whole group of them. But where the great fall comes in for them is they don't realize that that's not how everybody operates. So a person who is operated from ego, they'll start to believe that everybody is the same. Everybody operates the same. Everybody does the same thing. Everybody on the same type of time. So then their perception is altered and they actually go through life believing that all these people are the same. But that's literally not the truth, couldn't be farther from the truth. It's that group of people that was the same. So now this person comes across a wall, right? That's just minding his business. And it's making the mistake of thinking that that wall is going to be like every other wall that it's conquered, right? No, that's not what happens. They end up taking a fall from this wall because they didn't take the time to slow down and calibrate, right? So a lot of times in our lives, we don't take the time to slow down and calibrate when we come upon new situations, new people, new circumstances. And because we don't take the time to stop and recalibrate, it's so easy for us to kind of group people together, group places together, right? Hey, group circumstances together, even. It's so easy to do it. So then now you're operating with this egoic mind because, and you feel like you know it all because you've done this, you've done that, you've dealt with this, you've dealt with that. But unbeknownst to you, what you're dealing with is nothing like you've ever dealt with before. But yet and still you have the same attitude, the same approach, sometimes for some people even the same words, right? So you go through processing the same way, and then guess what? Here comes this great fall that hits you all of a sudden out of nowhere because you're trying to figure out what the hell happened. How did I get here? Why am I looking at my own yolk in my face? Right? Why is there egg on my face and I'm the egg? But see, that's the thing. They never realized that they were the egg. They never realized how fragile they were. They became the egg when they went into a new environment. Because before they could have thought that they were made out of steel. But until they were faced with a different circumstance, until they were faced with a different set of people that literally held up a mirror to them and showed them exactly who they were, they had no idea they were an egg. They had no idea they were so fragile. So that's pretty much where the message is coming from today. It's about how having an ego can literally lead you to transforming yourself into the person who you were meant to be all along, right? Hey, hey, 4-way. So it's an iffy topic, and trust and believe a lot of people are not going to stick around for this one because it may strike a nerve. But I will say this: I specifically set the intention for this message for the people who are meant to be here will be here, and they're going to get the message and it's going to resonate with them. So that was the intention. I said, "Hey Shakina. Hey y'all. Welcome in, welcome in." So yeah, because this is a special kind of message. This isn't the usual, tea that we get into over here. This is like some real heavy hitting stuff, right? Especially when it's about self. It's always good to hear about the next person, but ooh, when we have to turn that mirror on ourselves, when we want to hear that. We don't want to hear that, do we? So with that being said, I'm gonna switch gears a little here. Now that we kind of know where we going with this, right? I'm gonna switch gears a little. And I'm just going with the flow, baby. I'm just going with the ebbs and flow. And we here with the intrusive thoughts oracle. So let's see, because we're here for a reason, obviously. So why are we here? So, what sort of intrusive thoughts is going through a person's head when they're in this very egoic state, unbeknownst to them? they're actually in a very fragile state. So what's going through this person's head when they're in that sort of state of mind, right? So we got stalker. It says watchful, obsessive, hidden, sneaky, intrusive, prying, covert, and shadowing. Exactly. This is exactly the energy. And you know what? It's so crazy because it says all these things at the bottom: watching, obsessive, hidden, sneaky, intrusive, prying, covert. And this person could literally think that they're being vigilant, right? But in trying to be vigilant, this is a person who is basically stalking and they don't even realize it. So it's like, I want to know who they're stalking, though. Like, who are they watching? What are they watching here? What are they? And this could be a person who is just extremely paranoid, actually, is what I'm getting. So this is a person who is extremely paranoid. So, and the thing is, it can be like that. Like when you are in a position where you're really operating out of that ego sort of energy, and your mind, it's the whole world against you, right? The whole world is against you. So now you trying to watch a whole world, right? You trying to watch a whole world. And it's not even a world that's against you. It's you that's against you. So you watching people who you think are watching you in this very covert, shadowy sort of energy, but that's not even the case. So tell us more here. Tell us more. Huh. I know that's real. Look, we here with it. It says unapologetically real. If you don't like the truth, get the step it. Look, Spirit said this ain't for the people who don't want to hear the truth. If y'all don't want the truth, y'all don't want to hear the truth, then y'all gotta get the step. And Spirit said, get gone, because this is about to be honest, candid, unwavering, transparent, sincere though, and trustworthy, but it's going to be very direct. This is a message that's about to be in your face, baby. But it's coming from a place of integrity. It's genuine. It's fearless. It's frank, but it's loyal and open and real and authentic. Okay, Spirit. So, what you really finna say that we got to hit it like this, right? We got new spiritual babe. Just gonna call me babe at this point. Call me your new spiritual babe at this point. Because we telling it like it is. We got engagement, commitment, unity, promise, bond, forever, journey, love, and partnership. I think what this is saying is that, you know, the truth is literally the stronghold here, right? It's like when you're in a very egoic state of mind, you're not operating from a place of truth. You're not operating from a place of truth. So it's like you have to keep it real with yourself, you know? You have to keep it real with yourself, because that's how you're able to keep the unity, right? That's how you're able to marry together not just your mind, but your heart and soul as well. So if you want that unity with self, because this is one ring here, if you want that unity with self, right? If you want that, you literally have to be woke. You have to be alert to what's going on internally. You see, it says new spiritual bay. That's internal. This is all internal here. So this is an internal fight that we're fighting, right? We're fighting that ego. And look, At the bottom of the deck, we got 90s babe, nostalgia, connection, innovation, communication, clarity, retro, remember, and signal. A lot of us do fall prey to ego because we're living in a moment, we're stuck in a moment. And a lot of times it's because of that moment that we live in. It's like, oh, I was at my prime when I was in this moment. I remember this moment of my life being the greatest moment I ever experienced. So I'm working so hard to keep my life in a reflection of that moment, right? But what we're doing is locking down our heart chakra because we're not open to the new things that are literally in our reality. When you're operating from a place of ego, you're at the same time operating from a place of delusion because ego is not reality. Now, a ego is not necessarily a bad thing, but when we overdo it, then it can become a bad thing. It becomes a crutch instead of being used for what it's supposed to be used for, which is those boosts of confidence for ambition and things of that nature. It's not being used for that. It's being used to put up a front, to put up a mask, right? So a lot of people egos have become their mask that they hide behind when actually they're not even living their own truth, right? So it's like ego has to go because there's no truth in it. There's no truth in it. And it's literally blocking the heart chakra because it's influencing every part of your life, right? But look, I'm telling you, all that is hidden will be revealed. This is the Humpty Dumpty moment. But you see all this light around it. That's why I said Humpty Dumpty was a phoenix. Because at the end of the day, once that ego comes and cracks down, it's a magic trick card. Once that ego comes in and crack down, yeah, there is a moment, there is a periodic moment where you feel the effects, you feel the symptoms of having your ego cracked. You feel sad, you feel confused, you feel, what does it say? Mourning, healing, release, reflection, growth, forgiveness, acceptance, depression. Baby, you go through all the stages for grief. You go through all the stages of grief, baby. Okay? Whenever you're dealing with these things, you go through all the stages, all these stages of grief. But it could definitely have you feeling like in such a lowly place whenever that ego comes crashing down because it's I think it hurts so bad when the ego cracks whenever you have an ego death. I think it hurts so bad because it's not something that other people can help you with. You can't look to people on the outside to help you with the grief that you're dealing with here. You literally have to go within and pull that strength from within. You have to go in and tap into that spiritual bay within, right? To bring forth that true self. What else is on the mind? One more. May every evil eye go blind. May every evil eye go blind. I feel like that's for the haters. That's trying to bump heads. Thank you. Thank you. We got to stand up. Yeah. So may every evil eye go blind, right? So all that's saying is protect yourself, right? Protect yourself from outside influences. Protect yourself from even the people that you're surrounded by, because what you may not even realize is those same people who hyping up that ego within you are going to be the first people to flee when you're in this energy. They're not people you're going to be able to call or anything, right? But they're there to hype up. They're there to hype up that old you, right? From that point in time where life was so grand, so great, where you really was that one, top notch. But the beauty of it is when Humpty Dumpty fell off that wall and cracked open, at some point Humpty Dumpty realized, like when all the king's horses and all the king's men was trying to put him back together, and the yolk just continuously gushing out everywhere, bits and pieces of the egg shell getting even more crushed and cracked and being grinded down into powder around him. At some point, Humpty had to look around and be like, oh shit, this is it. This is it. I can no longer contain this shell. I can no longer hold on to this yoke, right? So that's the moment where Humpty Dumpty realized he had to just let it go. Just let it go. Let go of that old you that's holding you back from being your greatest self. Look, it says here, you were never meant to fit in. You were born to be a wild and free force of nature, here to build new and better worlds. Allow yourself to go and do that. But when you allow your ego to hold you back, you're not just holding yourself back in a time period. You're holding yourself back from everything that is due you, everything that is destined for you, everything that is supposed to come to you, right? It's like literally holding the hand on the clock. It's like you're freezing time. But remember, time doesn't wait for anybody. So while you're trying to hold on to a moment or hold on to a persona of yourself from a moment, life is passing by. Things are upgrading, things are changing, things are leveling up all around you, and you still stuck in the old way. At some point, you have to let the ego fall. At some point, you have to let the pride, because that's all ego is, pride. You have to let the pride fall. Pride is not going to help you or nobody else, right? It's not going to help you. Pride will hurt you before it help you. And how do you come out of that ego, right? So a lot of people do want to, like, well, I don't know. I've been like this all my life. All I know is pride. How am I supposed to just, have this great fall moment, right? By being authentically you. Cause see, more people hide their true self than people would like to let on, right? Because a lot of times people don't want to be seen as vulnerable, or they don't want to seem overly emotional, or they don't want to seem overly strong or overly whatever the case is, right? They don't want to seem like a crybaby. They don't want to seem too girly, or they don't want to seem too masculine, or whatever the case is, right? A lot of people just don't allow themselves to be themselves because they're afraid of what the next person is going to think, is going to feel, is going to say about them. But I say, fuck them. Okay, it doesn't matter what somebody else says about you. It doesn't matter how somebody else feels about you. It's your life to live. You're the one who have to be happy with it. Can you really truly be happy in a life where you have to wear a mask all day, every day? Can you really truly be happy in a life where you can't be free to be you? Can you? I can't. I can't. It's too much work to continuously wear a mask. It's too much work, literally. So let's see. At the bottom of the deck, we have testing limits. It says someone is testing the limits of what? Examining how you react under pressure. That's that ego. That goes back here. That goes back to this stalking, right? A person who's in their ego, they don't trust nobody. They don't, you know what I'm saying? They're in this very egoic state of mind. So because they're not being their true selves, they feel like other people aren't being their true selves. I've been there before. I've been there before. I've wore a mask before because I felt like people weren't gonna be able to handle me in full effect. So I dumb myself down and wear a mask to fit into the crowd so other people don't feel comfortable. I've done it. But in me doing that, it made me feel like other people around me are doing it too. So then you get this little paranoia in the back of your mind that's just like, wait a minute. So if I'm holding back who I truly am, then who are you truly behind your mask, right? Are you wearing a mask? You know? So that's just one of the side effects I say of being egoic or operating out of that ego. You don't trust because how can you trust somebody else when you don't even fully trust yourself to be yourself? When you don't give yourself the freedom to be who you are, that's why you don't give other people the freedom to be who they are without giving them the side eye or wondering or questioning if they're genuine, if they're real, right? Look, double standards on the split. Double standards. So now you're literally running these little side tests, right? Watching, looking, lurking, prying, putting people under test they don't even know they in, right? Wasting time when you could just have a conversation with a person all because of a double standard that you have. And it's like you're trying to weigh out, it says different people are held to different standards. Exactly. So you're actually weighing me according to all these other things, but look at your weight. Your weight is literally a mask. I can't even see. I can't even see through you because there's a mask there. How am I supposed to know what's on your plate? You can see clear as day what's on mine, but how can I see what's on your plate if all you're presenting to me is a mask? That's the double standard. That's what you get when you deal with a person operating an ego. You get hidden motives. You get hidden truth. But all that is hidden will be revealed. That's one thing for sure. Too. Oh, look, ego check. All that is hidden will be revealed. Interactions are forcing you to confront your own ego. And that's exactly what happened. That takes it right back to that previous message. Well, not the previous message, but earlier when we were talking about a person who operates an ego come across people who are genuine, but they treat them like the people that they got comfortable with while they were operating in their ego, right? Because some people are okay with you operating in your ego. Them your hype men, remember? Them the one that's gonna keep influencing you, right? They gonna help you put on the show. They will be your cameraman, okay? It's lights, camera, action for them. They got you on that. But when it's time to be real, they gone. They know where to be found. Look, they get in the stepping. When the truth come out, oh, they get in the stepping. They can't handle the real. So what else, Spirit? What do you have to say? Look, silent understanding, unspoken understanding creates a deep connection. See, this is the thing, right? Once a person cracks the mask and that ego falls, and they're left with their authentic self, right? And they go through the dark night of the soul because they gotta literally, you know what I'm saying, pick their face up off the ground, you know? They go through the dark night of the soul. They heal, they mourn, they release, right? They forgive themselves. They forgive themselves for not allowing themselves to be honest and true to themselves, right? They grow from the experience. They reflect on the experience and they accept what happened so that they can move forward into this phoenix moment. Literally. That's exactly what happens after ego death. There's a phoenix moment where you grow. But a silent understanding, unspoken understanding, creates a deeper connection. So, connections after a ego death, right? It's not the same as what a person is used to because before they were used to everybody wearing a mask around them. But once you have that ego death and you go through this phoenix moment, then you're starting to attract people who are on that same wavelength. So you're not going to keep attracting these people who are going to root for the fake and fraudulent version of you. You're going to have people that's going to be rooting for the authentic, true version of you. And you can build these connections with these people and you have like some sort of Jedi mind trick going on, right? Some sort of telepathy going on with these sorts of people because y'all all on the same wavelength, so y'all in tune with each other, right? And you get to a point where you can give a person a look and they understand, or you can sit in silence with a person and it still have an understanding. Because a lot of times people with big egos, they don't really like silence. They gotta have some music, they gotta have a TV playing. Because guess why? Because if they sit in the silence, then they have to listen to their authentic self trying to come through, right? So a person who never takes the time to sit in silence is a person who is running from themselves. One more from this, whether that's you or someone else, because we had to get here some way or another one. Look, trust in the process. Trust the process of the relationship. Don't rush for answers. See, ego will have you thinking that you gotta have all the answers up front. I'm still learning. I'm still learning this one. I'm still learning this one to trust in the process because Um, I'm an Aquarius, right? So I like the answer right then and there, right? I want the answer now. But I'm learning that that's not always feasible. That's not always the best way to go about things, because if I just go through the process, the answer will come to me eventually. Eventually, I'll understand what it is I'm wanting to know, whether that's through observation, watching a person's actions, because actions speak louder than words, or whether that's a person finally coming to a place where they open up, you know? But either way, I'm still learning myself to trust the process, right? Don't rush for answers. Because when you rush for an answer, you can literally like throw people off, because a lot of times they may not have the answer, right? And if they don't have the answer, a lot of times they don't want to tell you that they don't have the answer. They don't want to tell you that, because then they feel like you'll look at them a certain type of way, or you'll see them as immature, or you'll see them as a person who doesn't have all their ducks in a row. But I think it all goes back to being sincere, being honest, and being fearless. You got joint evolution. You and others are growing together, supporting each other. Uncovered truth. Yes. Uncovered evidence will change your view on things. I'm telling you, you really and truly do get to a point where you can learn and grow with other people supporting each other, because the truth has been uncovered. This is giving me that hermit energy, right? The truth has been uncovered. You've searched your soul, right? And the truth has been uncovered. And all the evidence pointed to the fact that you were operating in ego. And whenever you operate in ego, tough cookie. Okay. Tough cookie. It just puts you in this performance sort of energy, And it's like you always own. Nobody wants to live a life like that where they feel like they always got to be turned on. No. Look, holding back. That's exactly what happens. You hold back. The other person is not being fully open with you. A closed and locked book. That's what happened. But look, authentic self. Authentic self. When you're your authentic self, it's better for everybody involved. So, going through the Phoenix moment as a person who has had an ego death, right? A great ego death. And you go through the Phoenix moment, which encompasses all of the things, right? The dark night of the soul, the spiritual ascension, right? Um, even the what do I want to call it? Obtaining knowledge. Like all those things are a part of going through this Phoenix moment. Because when you think about a phoenix, right? When it gets to a certain point and it combusts into flames and it goes down into these ashes. And once all the ashes have fallen, it literally rebirths another phoenix. It's like a little baby phoenix. So it's a new body, it's a new life, so to speak, you know, made of the same stuff, just put together in a different way. So that's really what it's about. It's about continuously getting back to that authentic self and showing yourself that you can shift, that you can be authentic. You can be real to yourself first, right? Because it don't do you no good trying to be real to other people when you're not real to yourself. Because if you're not real to yourself, then how could you ever be real to other people? It don't add up. It does not add up. And I also was drawn to this particular oracle here. Guess we'll see why. So, Holy Spirit, what's the message from the answer oracle? And I have not thrown one. Ooh, jeez Louise. Throw it at me, why don't you? That's certainly way too much. Literally a book. So, what's the message here? Okay, we got speeding, surge, flow, and gossip. Mm, run, eternity, passion. Okay, we got flirt. Definitely did not expect this. Love, seduce, lover, lust, and determination. Go all out, struggle desperately, belief in victory. So I definitely feel like once you reach a level of authenticity with yourself coming out of this ego death, then it literally changes the people that you attract around you. Like it literally changes the people because not everybody that's around you is for you. Not everybody around you is for you. So it literally shifts the energy around you when you're authentic. That's like a very high vibration to have. And so then when you get to that point, then you start to draw in these very high vibrational people to you, right? It says flirt and determination. It says go all out, struggle desperately, believe in victory. So it's like you you it's like you come upon a completely different level of person, right? So the kind of people that you'll be coming across are not like the regular degulars. So you'll feel like, because it'll all be new still, but you'll be learning as you grow. But because you're operating in an authentic energy, you're not gonna be closed off like you were in the egoic sort of sense, right? So when this comes in, it's gonna be feel strange. It's gonna feel new and something like you've never experienced before because a person who is authentic is not a person who holds back. So it's gonna seem like a lot, right? It's gonna seem like a person is going all out, you know, and you may actually struggle a little bit with it, but you'll remain open to it as well. Um, I would say a rose from a concrete, but this looks more like something else. A daisy, I don't know. I'm not really a flower person. Just give me a bouquet of honeys. But it says struggle desperately, and belief in victory. So it's like, yeah, you'll struggle for a little bit, but you'll realize, what's happening because when you're authentic, then your intuition is clear, your clarity is clear. So you can have that conversation with spirit, or you can tap into the universe and get those messages that'll clarify like what's happening around you. at any given moment, and then that belief in victory, then you'll start to see like, wait, this is actually something that I deserve. Like, I've denied myself this level of care, this level of attention, this level of love. Because what? Because why? Because the people that I was used to around me never showed this level. So you didn't think it was possible until after the ego death? But it's saying, like, hey, be open, flirt, allow yourself to be seduced. Live a little is the energy. Live a little. It's like you got a lot of catching up to do. A lot of catching up to do when you go through this Phoenix moment. hmm It says prosperity and follow. Prosperity and follow. Abundance, wealth, good luck, and blessings. Follow instructions, instigation, and faith. Follow the messages that the universe is giving you. No such thing as a coincidence. Like, I don't really believe in coincidences. Honestly, I feel like everything is everything. We're in a world, we're in this universe. It's all connected. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. So there is a certain level of oneness that happens here. So when things happen that seem coincidental, maybe it's not a coincidence, right? Maybe it's just your brain not wanting to believe the impossible is possible, right? Maybe that's it. But we have prosperity, abundance, wealth, good luck, and blessings. It says follow prosperity. So follow those abundant things. Go after those abundant things, right? Go after the things that bless you, right? Follow the signs that the universe is sending you. Follow the instructions that your heart is giving you. You know, give up the previous plan. Baby, that ego died a good death. Give it up. Release old patterns, embrace change, and clear the way for renewal. And that, my love, is what I'm going to leave you with right there. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye.